Welcome back to another episode of Podcast P, presented to you by Prize Picks, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original. And ladies and gentlemen, we are wrapping up on season 1, but before we did that, we had to go big.
Woo.
And we went really big.
Who we got, P?
We got chairman now. He put us on game. Chairman of all chairmen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very, very grateful to lace it up for this gentleman right here. We got none other than the man himself, Steve Ballmer.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Pleasure to be here.
Steve, we appreciate you coming on set here. This is groundbreaking for us, for where we started to where we're at now, to have you on our set. We appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to see you guys have kicked a little ass with this
Yes,
thing.
sir.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
It's good.
The stock ain't doing as good as Microsoft here, but we're rising. We're rising.
All you have to do is keep the faith. Keep the faith. That's business. The Microsoft experience.
I want to start this off by, again, this is our season finale, but I'm sure people back home want to know, how it was when we first got together. And I always cherish when we first, talked. That first dinner we had, I remember we went to Georgia Baldy. We had the dinner there. But for me, it was great, to build that relationship from day one with you. Can you talk about that relationship that was built on that day?
Yeah, no, that was fun. What was the name of the place? Georgia Baldy?
Georgia Baldy.
Yeah, kind of down there at the base of the street coming off the Palisades, right?
Yep.
I've been back there, by the way. I went there with my friends
going this weekend.
afterward. Are you?
Yeah.
I love that place. This is not, by the way, a paid political announcement for the restaurant.
Right.
They've offered nothing up, but it is a fantastic place that Pete taught me. No, it was great because you joined. We'd had a chance to do a little group interaction, but to be able to sit down, talk, get to know you more as a person. And, it's we don't work together day to day. I watch your work, of course, but we don't work together every day. But getting that chance to talk, to build a bond, because I think that is important, because the bond in our organization, it has different pieces, but I think the bond, between me as a team chairman and you as a superstar, I think that's an important one. And I like hearing about your story, and it was great.
Yeah, I know leaving that dinner, I was like, wow, he really knows basketball. Because you talked about high school guys, you talked about college guys, you talked about like all the guys that was in the Northwest area. You brought up Brandon Roy, you brought up Jamal Crawford, like all these, guys that played and were big time players, but you knew about these guys since they were in high school. Talk to me or let them know, the fans know, just about like how deeply rooted you are with basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. When I was a little kid, knew nothing about basketball. My dad had moved to the U.S. from Switzerland, knew nothing about basketball. And when my family moved out of the country for a few years, we moved back when I was 11. And there were these kids down the street who were basketball lovers. They had the hoop up in front of the house. We got a hoop up in front of our house. We'd sit out there and shoot. And I sucked. Okay, I'm not going to mince any words here. I played in 9th grade on a no-cut team, and that was it. That was the sum total of my basketball career. I mean, I still to this day, I'll go out and shoot because somehow it's a very calming thing for me to have a chance to do. I don't know, getting out of the house, something when I was a kid. So when I was 11, I get exposed to the game, and I immediately said, "This is cool. This is fun." Started playing in the driveway. Went to freshman year. I played my 1 year, but I became a Pistons fan. I was growing up in Detroit, and I was kind of the stats guy. I did some stats for our high school team. I did stats for our college team because that's what you do if you can't play, but you love the game, and so I started following. I moved to Seattle in '80. I became a Sonics fan. But I've been paying attention to high school hoops in Seattle. I'll tell you how far back. Quinn Snyder, when he was a senior at Mercer Island High School in Seattle, I remember them going to state and winning the state championship. It was him and a big kid, I can't remember, 7-foot kid who went, Brian Schwabe, who went to play at Northwestern. But him and Quinn Snyder were the two guys. Obviously Quinn Snyder now feels like an old guy.
Right.
But I remember when he was in high school, and I just got to pay attention to that stuff.
There you have it.
Look, the NBA season is done, but that doesn't mean that Prize Picks is. Jackie, what's the next sport that's making you some money?
WNBA, baby. You know I'm coming up big thanks to our girl, Asia Wilson, because she was on our show. She been putting up big numbers for me. You know how she do, Dallas, but people don't know what we talking about. Let them know what we talking about.
So Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app. You pick 2 to 6 players like the video on your screen, then pick if they will have more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available.
I know how much I won. I always do, but let the people know how much they can win at Prize Picks, man.
You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. And on top of that, all first-time users that deposit and use our promo code PODCASTP will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100.
That means if you deposit $20, Prize Picks will give you $20. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. And at the end of the day, you already know what it is. Cha-ching! I want to ask you a question. I want to get real nosy with you.
Yeah.
Real nosy. I want to get real nosy. I want to take you back to the beginning, though.
Okay.
Before you start owning a basketball team.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to take you back to the Microsoft days. You see, you knew somebody before I was even born. I was born in 81.
I got you.
Barely made it.
I barely made it. But in 1980,
Yes, sir.
somebody by the name of Bill Gates hired you as the 30th employee. That's crazy, 30. Why couldn't be 31 or 29 or something? 30. I don't get it.
Because the story's good. It's better story if it's 30.
Okay.
It could have been 29 for all I remember, but in there someplace.
I want to know, how was it the moment when you got hired, and what was the environment like back in the day at the Microsoft days? And literally, how did you guys know it was going to be something special?
I got to go back a little further.
Take me back.
I lived down the hall my sophomore year in college. So in 74, I lived down the hall from Bill Gates. And there was a guy who lived about halfway between us who got to know us both. He says, look, you guys are both a little crazy. You're going to like each other. So I got to know Bill. He started Microsoft that year, our sophomore year. And he had this weirdo friend who at least felt like a weirdo friend who wasn't going to college with us, who'd come in and they'd brainstorm. That was Paul Allen, who he started the business with, who wound up buying the Portland Trail Blazers. Paul's passed away now. But so I was following this thing from the get-go, because Bill and I, we'd talk, oh, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? We joined the same fraternity at Harvard. So we knew each other. We talked a lot. We took some classes together. He winds up dropping out eventually. And after a couple years, I'm in business school, and I get this call. Hey, how you doing? I'd been up to see him in Seattle and visited him in Albuquerque, because Microsoft started in Albuquerque. So I'd been around the company a little bit. And he said, hey, we kind of need a business guy. Oh, too bad that you're in school right now. Oh, I wish you kind of had a twin brother. You got where this is going.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my first year. It's a 2-year program. It's my first year at school. So, of course, I got to get the drift. And I called back a day or two later and said, hey, maybe we should talk about this.
Right.
And I was looking at other jobs, and I mentioned to some people, maybe I'll drop out and go join my friend in Seattle. What the hell are you talking about? Was the basic answer. But Bill and I agreed, look, I'd go join for the summer. At the end of the summer, he could fire me if he wasn't happy, and I could quit. No harm, no foul either way. And it was chaotic. You want to see my first office? My first office was half of a couch in Bill's office. Wow. I got up there and he said, push my papers to the other side of the couch. We got no office for you. You can use that side of the couch. That's your freaking office, dude. The team wasn't all that good. I said to Bill after a month and a half, I'd been there less than a month. And, I said to Bill, we need 18 more people. We're 30 people. No, I didn't get you to drop out of business school to bankrupt this company. So we're living together at the time.
Yeah.
And we're not talking. I'm literally living in his house, and we don't talk for 3 or 4 days. And finally, we kind of, because he and I kind of grapple like that. So it's a zany time. And, you know, I remember we went out to dinner with his dad. And, you know, I said, I think I should go back to business school. I didn't drop out of business school to be a bookkeeper of a 30-person company.
Right.
Steve. And Bill's dad is 6'7" and kind of an imposing figure. It was like having the muscle in the house. And, you know, he said, we're going to put a computer on every desk in every home. I said, okay. Bought a house, and then we took it from there.
Did y'all know y'all had something special, though?
I would say we had belief, but we never had like some big forecast. Mm-hmm. There was a time when the guy who ran Intel, because all of the software runs on the Intel processors, the CEO of Intel said, you know, within a few years, we'll be selling 100 million, you know, PCs a year. And Bill and I looked at each other. What the heck is that guy smoking? This isn't going to happen. But we invested like it was going to happen, but we never forecasted like it happened. So what happens then? Well, you keep your costs down, and then boom, then you get to 100 million, and it's like, you know, you got a little jack to party with that way. I mean, that's why Microsoft is, I would say, a key reason why we got as profitable as we were.
So y'all did have something special. Y'all knew it.
But
we believed. We always said, you're going to bet long term. We're just going to be hardcore. We're going to be the guys who just put the pedal to the metal. Bet. And because we were basically always profitable, we didn't have to worry about, I mean, back then you didn't have to build factories or data centers. You know, in the old days, what was software? You chip somebody first a disc or a tape or a CD, you know. You're old enough to remember CDs.
I definitely am.
You're old enough to remember CDs. Don't give me any BS here, boys.
That's funny. So was there any point where you guys was just like, you know what? We've taken this thing only as far as we can take it. We don't quite think it's going to be what we think it's going to be. Did you guys ever get to that point, or is it just like, we don't care, we're going to make this thing be successful?
Yeah, we never had the moment of doubt.
No doubt.
We never. I mean, look, there were times. I don't know quite whether I should say this or not. Anyway, you know, I'll slightly edit it for commercial purposes. We're screwed. We're golden. I think you got the small edit there for young audiences. We're screwed. We're golden. We had done this in class one time. You know, oh, the world's falling apart. Oh, but we never really like had some gut check moment. Like, is this thing really going to fall apart? The only thing that was like, was in about 2000-ish, 99. Federal judge ordered that our company be broken up into 2 pieces. That was like, shit. It's not fair. It's not right. How can they be doing this? This would be bad for the company. Eventually, that got turned around, you know, through another court. But that was the, you know, like, we had one other moment. We were working with IBM. IBM's a company nobody gives a damn about pretty much now. But IBM was dominant. Well, I mean, come on. If I asked you what IBM did, could the 3 of you answer the question, what do they do these days?
I have no idea.
I couldn't tell you.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
idea.
They're still around and all that. But back then, they were it. They were dominant in computing. I mean, literally, they probably sold 70% of everything that got sold. It was, I mean, big. And we were their partner in the 80s. And then 1990, they turned the gun on us. I was out with my wife, and I stopped at a hotel. We were out for a run, and we stopped, and I pick up the paper, and it basically said, IBM's firing us. It's like, whoa, shit, we're in trouble now. Whoa. You know, it's like, okay, we can do this. We can, oh my God. We call them the bear. The bear's going to stop us now. We've been talking about riding the bear. Get on the back of that bear and ride. And all of a sudden, boom, the bear's coming after us. Anyway, you asked for a couple of examples, Pete. I'll give you those.
I love it.
But I know you. I remember you mentioned the software was kicking off and the software was super successful. But if I'm not mistaken, it was the hardware that really started to boost the company with the Xbox 360,
Yeah, the hardware gives the shine, but the software is really
was the moneymaker always.
It is. And if you look today at the company, software's changed. Back when software was a disc or whatever that you passed out, that was very profitable stuff. I mean, it doesn't cost much to make a CD. Nowadays, everything is in the cloud, so you got to run big data centers. It's still the software that's the magic, but you're building these huge data centers to, like this Chat GPT stuff. Microsoft built a custom data center someplace in Iowa to help the ChatGPT guys get going on this stuff, because and that form of hardware you don't see, not like the Xbox,
right?
But the thing that the consumer relates to, it's always the hardware. Yeah. Doesn't matter whether it makes all the money or not. It's what the consumer really grokks.
Yeah, got it.
So, Steve, after you're done with Microsoft, you mentioned you were a Pistons fan growing up, but walk us through the first moment where the possibility of purchasing an NBA team, specifically the Clippers. Talk about how the story on how that happened and what was going on in your mind at that time.
Can I give you a little bit of history before that about buying a basketball team? Paul Allen, my buddy from Microsoft, he buys the Trail Blazers in the late 80s. And Steve, this is fun. Steve, you got to do it. You got to buy a team. Come on, Steve. You'd love this, Steve. And, it's not like Paul was an athlete either. So you get two guys who basically never made a basketball team. And at the time, I got a full-time job. I got young kids. I'm figuring, I owe it to everybody at Microsoft to really stay focused. So I stay focused. The Sonics come up for sale. And then the proposition comes, they sell to Oklahoma City eventually. And I'm saying, I don't want to buy, I still have my job. But then, it's real. They might leave town. Can we help build an arena that keeps, the Sonics in Seattle? And it was too little, too late. The guys at OKC, kind of had made they had tried. Clay Bennett, who, the governor at OKC. Chairman. He calls himself governor. The governor down there had said, hey, look, I tried to keep the thing in Seattle. They move it. So I'm out. Then about, I don't know, it must have been 2013. I'm still, running Microsoft, and the Kings come up for sale. And there's a Seattle guy who, they don't come up for sale. There's a guy from Seattle who lives in San Francisco, but he wants a team back in Seattle. So he talks to the guys who own, at the time, the Kings, the Maloof brothers, into selling the team. And we're going to move them to Seattle. We're going to move them to Seattle. The problem is the league doesn't want to move them to Seattle. We're going to move them to Seattle. And they accept our bid. And we go to the league, and there's another group locally who wants to keep them in Sacramento. And the commissioner basically says, hey, you can buy the team if you want to, but you're keeping them in Sacramento. And I'm working, and, so I say something I probably shouldn't say. You think I'm going to fly to Sacramento, California for a game? I'm not doing it. He said, then you shouldn't buy the Kings. So this is while I'm working. So then I retire at early 14. And first thing I do, literally within 2 weeks of my last day at Microsoft, I fly to New York to meet with Adam Silver, who's taken over now for David Stern, and with Roger Goodell. Because I was also a football team manager in college, too. I like football. I don't follow it anymore the same way I used to. But anyway, I say, hey, I want to buy a team and bring it to Seattle. And Adam says, well, we don't want teams to move anymore. We saw what happened when Seattle moved. We really want these teams to stay. But the Milwaukee Bucks are up for sale. And so I fly to Milwaukee. I don't tell anybody. I fly to Milwaukee for one of their last games of the year, this 2013 season. I drive all around the city. What would it be like? I go to the game, and let's just say there was a guy with a Greek last name, And I'd never heard of it. This is 2013. So
Yeah.
Giannis is still really, what the heck? So who are these people on this team?
Yeah.
Actually, they had good players there.
Right.
But they were having a crappy year. It was a game in April. You know what a game in April's like for a crappy team. I'd love to tell you those are the best games, but I can't tell this crowd that stuff. Anyway, and then I called the owner. The owner said, we're not interested in talking to you. We're late. It was nice about it. So, all right, that doesn't work. And I bided my time, and then the Sterling thing comes out. And my middle son, who was in college at the time, he says, Dad, you got to get on this. This thing is going to sell. Oh, you're probably right. You're probably right. And I like L.A.
Yeah.
I like L.A. I'm retired. The notion of getting out of Seattle when it's, sort of rainy and gray and coming to L.A. in the wintertime, that's appealing. We jump on it. Let's go. And I had some, friends, et cetera, kind of helping me figure it out. The problem is we don't know who to buy the team from. Who's selling the team? How do you get in touch with the Sterlings? I mean, what the heck? So we had kind of a month of running around, chasing, trying to figure out how to get in contact. There was no agent selling the thing at the time. It was quite an experience. I will tell you that.
Got it.
Sorry, I'm going long on you guys.
No, you're not.
Apologize.
That's perfect. You're doing
that was
good.
great.
That's perfect. We love the
Please keep it.
background and everything leading up to
And the energy
events.
with it.
I will tell you one thing about buying the Clippers. So I finally figure out a way to meet Shelley Sterling. Donald's out of the picture, and she's running the show. And I get her on the phone. I'm at one of my son's AAU tournaments. I get her on the phone on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning. A mutual friend, a guy who'd sat next to her at Clipper games, introduces us. And I said, I'd like to say to him. She says, well, just tell me how much you want to pay. This is like on the phone. I said, well, really, I'd like to come see you though first. Let's. So finally she says, okay, come down. You come down, tell us what you're willing to pay. So I'm figuring, I got to impress this woman. I got to impress her. How do I impress her? I got to know who the best players were in Clipper history.
So you did a little research.
Yeah, who do you think the best? I mean, back then, this is back then. Best, not retired, not active, because CP and Blake and stuff were there.
Best Clipper?
Best Clipper.
Took a while to figure out.
Yeah, who do you think? Who would you write down?
You should
Best
know
Clipper,
this, P.
Clipper history.
The best
I'm
one?
going to say Bill Walton.
That's a good one, but he came to the Clippers' end of his career.
Okay, so not prime Bill.
See, that's the problem.
That is tough.
It was tough.
Can't put a face
And I
to
don't
it.
want to go back to Buffalo and say, Bob McAdoo or
Right.
Randy Smith, because people don't think of them as Clippers, the Sterlings. Finally, I decided Elton Brand. It was either going to be Elton Brand. Danny Manning got hurt too early.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, it's Elton Brand. So I'm thinking, okay, am I going to mention this to show like I give a little Clipper love? And we go into the house. We're going through the garage. And I see an Elton Brand jersey hanging. I'm like, ooh, I got it right. That's all the puzzle. Drop his name. Come on, drop his name. Anyway, just part of the process.
Yeah. So after this meeting with Mr. Sterling, after that meeting where you like, all right, I feel good about this. I gotta do this.
No. Well, I knew I got to do it.
Yeah.
Teams don't come up. It's an LA team.
Yeah.
I'd mentioned to Adam when I went to see him, hey, what about the LA teams? Because they're close enough to my house, and because I live in Seattle and all that, and my wife's never moving. He said, oh, those teams will never sell. And then, of course, the whole thing happens here. So I was all in. I was all in. But then it got in the bid process. And I was still all in, but we were in the bid process. And I just said, I'm going to get this team. And people thought I way overpaid.
Yeah.
But I got the team.
You got the team.
I probably paid 10% more, maybe not
Easy
I promised my wife one thing. She said, just don't embarrass me. Don't slather money on top of this thing where people say, oh, he just waltzed in and Mr. Big. So I was
You have
glad.
to
I
walk
was
in there
probably
like this.
How wifey feel now?
She's glad I have a hobby. She's happy to come to some games. I mean, of all sports, our kids all play well, that's not true. My oldest son played high school basketball and some AAU. My middle son was the basketball team manager in high school, and my youngest son played a lot of AAU and high school basketball.
Got it. I know when the trade went down, I was in Vegas at the time, and it's crazy enough when the trade happened. It was during the big earthquake that happened in Vegas, and I like to say that I had a little bit to do with that earthquake, with that trade going down.
He loves it.
All right,
But no, I remember when the trade went down, and I was officially a Clipper at that point, and I'm in Vegas, and I had to celebrate. I had to go out. I bought cigars for everybody. I might have bought like 20 cigars, even for people I didn't know. I was just passing them out in my section. But I went really hard that night, and I think Lou Will was in Vegas at the time. Pat Bev was in Vegas at the time.
I remember actually seeing some social media.
Yeah. But for me, it was because I was a childhood Clipper fan, and so it just hits different. I don't know if people really recognize when you get a chance to play back home what that means. But I say that to say, when your first day as an NBA owner or governor for the Los Angeles Clippers, like, do you remember what that first day was like?
Oh yeah, I do. Well, I remember. It turns out it's kind of complicated to transfer $2 billion. So I had to learn what that really meant. I was standing by a lake in Montana trying to get wiring instructions. But anyway, put that aside. The first day I really think of myself as owning the team.
Yeah, that sounds like a head scratcher.
For the first time, I came down to meet, because you're not allowed to talk to anybody, meet anybody. The NBA has rules until you, like, the deal's done, deal's not done, because some stuff happened that they didn't like a few years back. Because of the weird state of the Clippers, they had let me talk to Doc, but that was it. So, okay, this was going to be my first real thing. I was going down. We're going to have a dinner with some of the players, with Doc, with me. And I was nervous. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I wanted, but shit, what am I supposed to say? How's this going to go? And I'm not sure, guys would have known. I was probably a lot more nervous than any guys on the team who were there at the dinner. And so we sit down, and of course it goes fine. But I remember Matt Barnes was there, Jordan Farmer was there, CP was there, DJ I think was there, Blake was there, Jamal wasn't there. And Jamal I knew Jamal. He was on the team, but I knew Jamal from around Seattle. But things went okay. But it's kind of like, let's break in the new guy. Yeah. Hey, Steve, you should buy us a plane. Hey, Steve. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it all in. But I also knew, because of the circumstances of buying the team, I'm not screwing with anything up front, and shouldn't have. It turned out that was the right thing to do. But you know how a lot of owners seem to want to come in and, bold moves right away. And I just said, no, okay. Well, right. I thought I was born on third base. We had 3 all-NBA guys when I bought the team. Blake, CP, and DJ had all made the all-NBA team. And, Doc had, navigated the team through this stuff, a great coach. And so I just said, I can go slow. Figure it out, learn what my job is. I'm not a, quote, I may love basketball. That does not make me a basketball guy. I don't want to be the guy who comes in and says, hey, I saw this run in the Pee-wees. Let's run this play. Or, hey, we ought to trade for, Joe Schlabazl on this team because, I saw him play once and he hit a 3 that I thought was really impressive. I didn't want to be that guy. So it took me a while to learn what the job is, what my job is versus the job of the head of basketball, the head coach, the superstar players, et cetera.
How quick was that separation of, like, just being a fan of NBA players, being a fan of the game, and then now you just you got to gear all of that towards just one team. Like, how quick of an adjustment did you have to make? Yeah.
How quick did I have to?
Yeah.
And how quick did I want to?
Did you do it? Yeah.
Even faster. I mean, I wasn't an NBA fan.
Yeah.
I was always an NBA fan. I always had a team. It's not like I just say, hey, I love all teams. And I'm about, a lot of people are fans of players. I was always was a diehard Piston fan. You know, back to the days of Steve Quick and Bob Mix, guys you never heard of who played for the Pistons. I guarantee you never heard of those two dudes. You know, through the Sonics and but I was a Sonics fan. There was no question.
Okay.
You know, when they played in the NBA Finals against, you know, the Bulls, I was a Sonics fan.
I want to bring up another governor of a team. I'm using the right terminology, right?
You got it. You
That's
got
right.
it.
That's
Was
right.
governor.
That's
Yeah, I want to bring up, I don't know if you read this before or heard about it, Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
He recently shared a story how he accidentally messed up a trade because he spoke about at a pickup run. I want to know, like, how P asked you about your first time being the having the team or whatever. I want to know any learning moments you had when you first started.
Yeah, I'll tell you one. So our first game was against OKC. I think this is when you were probably still in Indiana, right? Because 2014, you would have still been in Indiana.
Yep.
So we play OKC in the first game. And I'm going crazy. I mean, Doc kind of calls, talks to me after the game. He says, basically, dude, we've got 82 of these at least. You might want to save a little wear and tear on your vocal cords and your body. It's like, oh, okay, Doc, okay, you make a good point there. I call that my first learning moment, if you will.
Otherwise, you talk like me.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, that's two good accents you can do. Two good impersonations. I like the other one you did about Charles Barkley too.
Steve, you'll sound like me if you. I don't know.
You're going to be the NBA king of impersonations in a minute. Everybody, when they see you, B, do that impersonation. Watch.
I just be really good at it. I don't.
You go on Saturday Night Live, NBA edition.
So Paul's talked a little bit about, the impact you've had on him from a business standpoint. And I want to talk about how the leadership qualities that you have that you most likely developed at your time at Microsoft, how much of that leadership from a leadership standpoint converted over to how you're owning the Clippers right now?
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot of lessons in everything you do. I mean, I once gave a talk at one of my college reunions. Everything I ever needed to know in business, I learned as a Harvard football team manager. So, I mean, you develop your leadership, whether you're in business or, you're a leader on a team, basketball team. You learn it as you kind of go. For me, a lot transfers over. I mean, you respect the power of the team. You have key talents, and you've got to make sure that you're really doing the right things to support key talents. It was engineers at Microsoft, it's players in our current business. You have to be, I used to say, you have to dream long term and deliver short term. That's essential. It's essential in sports. It's not just essential, in business. We got to win today, and we got to have rosters that stay with us for 2, 3, 4 years, because I'm not one of these guys who wants to go through the process or the rebuild.
Right.
Now, I don't find any excuse for us doing that. We're in LA. We have a lot more opportunity, I think, to attract free agents. We ought to be able to keep ourselves really competitive year in and year out. And it's hard to do. I mean, even the Lakers went through a really bad, whatever it was, 5 or 6 years. I think that's really important. So how do you think about that? How do you deliver? How do you win now? And how do you set yourself up to be good also in the future? So a lot of good lessons. The one that's crazy, how much I learned that would have helped me in business, the reverse is, in business, people say we're accountable. We got to make our quarterly numbers, our sales and our profits. And, we get grilled by the shareholders and, we say, oh, well, okay, that didn't come in quite right, but we'll get it back. We'll make more next quarter because, blah, blah, blah happened. Or you don't even know what's in the research labs and we're going to blow you away. So don't worry about how much money we spend on that. That's not how it works in sports. Every 24 seconds, there's a report card. Every 24 seconds. And sometimes it's less than 24 seconds, especially if some teams are on the league, the ball goes up pretty quick. Yeah. But you're getting a report card all the time. You're knowing real time, win, lose, succeed, fail. When a game's over, if you lose, you lose. There's no getting it back. You can't say, well, we'll win that game next game. Doesn't work that way. It's super high accountability. In business, you can say, hey, that's in the research lab. There's no research lab. People know who's on your roster. They know what everybody gets paid. They know what every other team does. There's a software that'll tell you what trades are possible. They can see every statistic that anybody on the team can see. They can watch everything. They can see everything. The only thing they don't know is sort of, I would call it locker room, et cetera. Somebody's injured. You got to report it. So there's hardly anything the fans don't know. That level of accountability, I think, gives sharpness and clarity, whether it's to the players, to the staff, to me, and kind of my role. I wish I'd really had that much clarity about accountability actually when I was in business. So.
Having a team to compete every year, right? From a short list goal or a long list goal, like how does that look for you in the Governor ownership standpoint of what your legacy is in this position?
I don't think a lot about legacy. It's not my kind of way of thinking about things. If you look at it in the context of Microsoft, I am proud of what we built. And, in a sense, you could say, hey, that's, quote, my legacy. But it's not going to go down as my legacy. It's, hey, I was one of the key drivers of that business, as were others. But, people forget. They got short memories. Okay, now there's a new set of guys that are running and do great stuff. The thing I heard that makes most sense is the guy who is responsible for the team as a team, which you could say that's my role, we're just stewards. We just hold the team for a period of time as sort of the steward on behalf of the fans. And then we pass it to somebody else. That's called a sale, but we pass it to somebody else. And then they steward the team for the fans. Because in a way, it's probably fairest to say the fans are the folks that survive. So the question I would say is, what is it that I would hope to deliver to our fans? I'd hope to deliver a stronger, better kind of brand and image. I don't want to be the old Clippers. The old Clippers. It's pretty
dark.
Our fans don't want to be there. I mean, I think it's great we have fans who'll say, I've been around since 86 and I put up with all the bullshit, basically. And our fans are hardcore like that. But we're trying to now, I want to be known as a hot team, a hot place. I want our fans to be able to feel proud like that. So that's one thing to give the fans. This new arena is a thing to give the fans. It really is, because we're never going to be all we can be unless, we're in nobody's shadow, so to speak. So I view that as part of giving our fans something, and, a great place to watch a game. And, I think of that as a contribution I can make to our fans. Now, there's a contribution you can make that I can kind of try to help you. That's winning a goddamn championship. I can't really do that. I can support everybody, but goddamn, man, that's more on you than it is on me.
That's on us.
But that's putting us. I can help put us in a position. You guys could deliver that to our fans. That's that's what it's about.
That's what we're working towards.
I know.
That's what we're working towards.
That.
What are some of the challenges from an ownership standpoint? Because I know we live in a world where social media is the heaviest and everybody has an opinion. I'm sure times you're out and you get a chirp here and there of what people think you should do in your position. What are some of the challenges that ownership brings when you're owning a team?
It depends on how you do it. My wife's got an expression that I think I'm going to slip right in here. I like to lay low and wear beige.
You saying wear beige?
Lay low and wear beige. No big appearance, no nothing. Just blend right in.
Yeah.
Now, I can be enthusiastic at the games. That's fine. But when it comes time to talking on behalf of the team, I'm not helpful as part of that process. Our players are. Our coach is. Lawrence Frank as our, president of basketball. All I do is create chaos. Somebody will they're going to try to read between the lines on what I said, and what does that mean? That's not helpful. I'm not there in the mix every day. So I try to let, once a year I'll do like a press session. We don't talk about the roster and all that. That's better done elsewhere. So I try not to get in the fray. I mean, look, I read a lot of crap on social media. And there are times where I just, God damn, I just want to say a little something, just a little bit of stuff. Lay low and wear beige.
Lay low
Like
and
that shirt of yours, it just sort of slides. Well, not with the mushroom thing, but the rest of it, you got that shirt that's not going to call a lot of attention. Yeah. Wear beige.
Wear beige. That's my new shit. Wear beige. And chill. Be chill and wear beige.
So I, at least with media and social media, that's kind of my, I'm not going to grab a journalist at the end of a game. If our PR guys or comms guys want me to do something, sure, I'll do something. It's usually very structured. I'm not going to take some random question. I don't want to do the media interviews where somebody asks, why did you play X instead of Y? Why does your team trade for Z and, this guy instead of that guy? I think that's best done by the professionals, Lawrence, players, coach, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
I got another business question, and I want to ask you. So, like in the NBA, to make it to the NBA, there's usually a few types of people that make it. Sometimes you have your guys that are super talented. They might not have the best work ethic, but they're just so talented. Then you have guys that aren't that talented, but they work extremely hard. I want to know on the business side for you. I know you're smart. You're clearly smart. I also read that you scored a perfect score on your math section for the SAT. But that's
not actually true. But it makes
true?
a good story.
Okay,
I had 790, not 8.
Okay, my bad.
Go ahead. I don't want to lie to anybody.
We got a lot of viewers that they might not want to make it to the NBA, but they want to, be successful in business. That's like super popular right now. So what would you contribute your success to? Were you just gifted and you worked really hard? Or where would you kind of gauge that with yourself?
4 things. Number 1, I was blessed. I mean, I'm good with numbers and concepts, and hey, I was lucky. You could blessed, lucky, whatever you want to say. That's number 1. That helps. Number 2, I developed a work ethic, and I don't know, my parents, something. I developed a work ethic real early. I mean, I was getting sort of pats on the back from teachers in 2nd grade because I was the hardest worker in the class. So that helped. Number 3, I got my ass kicked early. You could say I never had anything go wrong with me, but I had a teacher in 2nd grade say that I wasn't very smart, I wasn't good at math, and I'd probably struggle in 3rd grade. God damn, I took it as my job that summer between 2nd and 3rd grade. I was going to prove Miss Van Stickle wrong. That was your name, seriously.
Van Stickle.
Oh, my God. Anyway, I wound up skipping 3rd grade after 3 weeks because I studied all summer. So I was a worker, okay? You got to be a worker. Mm-hmm. You just got to be a worker. You got to have motivation. You got to be a worker. Motivation. I got motivation out of that. I got, work. I was blessed. Some good raw material. And you got to get lucky. I mean, if anybody thinks there's not some luck, I hate it when people say, well, I work harder than everybody else and I'm smarter than everybody else. That doesn't guarantee success. Mm-hmm. You need a little luck. Mm-hmm. That, I think, is less true actually for an athlete than it is for people in business, but even for athletes. I mean, there's got to be for most, I don't know, do you have a story where you say, hey, it wasn't just all my skill and all my work?
Oh, it was 100% luck. I'm not sure if you've been to Palmdale or not, but
no, but I'm going.
The point of you being a part of that, facility there lets you know there's not much going on in Palmdale. So it was 100% luck of making it out of Palmdale. But, with that, I gave myself a chance by working hard and putting that work to use for whenever that opportunity or big break presented itself. But
so
it was 100% luck.
Generally, a little motivation, a lot of hard work, a little luck, and a lot of skill. Mm-hmm. And I think that's true in almost any – and I just hate it when people deny that it was luck. They just say, hey – because I'm so cool, It's going to happen for me.
Right.
Fellas, I know we all got facial hair right now. You see mine got a little gray in it, and it's looking real clean still, except for maybe you, Bunky. You need a little lineup today. You a little messed up over there. But do you guys ever run into some stubble trouble?
Hey, you know, for me, I love my facial hair, but just hate going through the hassle of a wet shave every other day just to make sure that it stays clean.
I feel the same way, and that's why we've partnered with Manscaped. Your face is the first thing people see, especially for us on this podcast. So get them something to look at with Manscaped's Handyman.
Yes, sir. Manscaped now has beard products with the launch of their brand new Handyman electric face shaver. Their skin-safe technology helps reduce nicks and cuts and is designed to give your face that smooth, chisel, izzle, dizzle for shizzle look without the mess of a traditional shave.
Yeah, it's for wet use or dry use. And P, you know, feel free to bring this anywhere and everywhere. The compact design and airplane friendliness makes this the perfect travel tool for those long road trips.
Make sure you join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Head over to manscaped.com and use promo code PODCASTP for 20% off and free shipping. Yo, do you guys have a ton of subscriptions that might be draining your wallet?
Man, I'm broke these days. Shit, look, I got all these streaming apps and fitness programs that I can't even count them all on hands, man. Yeah, wait, 1, 2, 3. How many hands? What do I got? What, 7, 8?
Two hands.
2. See, like I said, I can't even keep count, man.
It's a lot, but Jackie, you want to hear something crazy? Did you know over 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about? Think about all the subscriptions you have that were never canceled.
That's why I'm a huge fan of Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills, all in one place.
With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want just with the press of a button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does all the work for you.
So don't be like me. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscription and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/podcastp. That's rocketmoney.com/podcastp. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Yo, have y'all ever had nights where you couldn't fall asleep and because your thoughts were racing and keeping you up all night, which prevented you from being able to enjoy your life or performing your best on the court?
Yeah, it does. But you know what helps is me just talking to people, getting it out. Talking to my wife sometimes is kind of how I get through it. You know, let her in on what's keeping me up, what's keeping me busy. And a lot of times she just helps me relax.
Yeah, I've noticed if I don't work out, Jackie, then I always have a more difficult time falling asleep. So just getting outside, getting a little exercise has been helping my mind slow down.
You know, one great way to make those racing thoughts go away is talk them through, P. Therapy gives you a place to do that so you can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace. You understand what I'm saying? So you can dominate on and off the court.
Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk things through.
It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It helps you become the best version of yourself.
Was it hard for you guys to find a therapist?
No, I just kind of asked around and got a referral and was able to see someone pretty quickly.
What about you, Pete? Huh? You got any suggestions for people, you know, to have them get started with the therapy?
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedules.
Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/podcastp today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/podcastp. I don't even know how I got to come with energy asking you this next question. Because, I mean, look, I done sat courtside at the Clipper games last year. And my boys know I don't know what kind of energy I got, but it's off the meat rack. But I think
the meat rack.
The meat rack.
I'm going to use you use beige. I'm going to use off the meat rack.
Meat rack and brain.
Steve, that's the first time I've heard him say that one.
Yeah, I don't tell him everything.
It sounds pretty good, though.
My energy's
That's
off
some
the
early
meat rack.
80s shit right there.
You know my age now. But I done been to the games, and every
rack.
game that I've been to and
From
sat
Lil
courtside,
Snake.
when I look across, I see you. And your energy is not like a governor. Your energy is beyond a governor. It's like a fan over it's like different energy. Like you don't just cheer or get mad. You not like it's whoa! It's like you act like you young, man. And you act like you real young. Where do you get this energy from? Cause I really thought I had more energy than you. I'm like dull today. I don't know what's going on. Like are you like this at every game? And do you watch regular game on TV like this?
No, there's a difference between watching on TV. I just got to say, I make it an absolute rule to the best of my ability to just be positive when we're all in the building together. Look, there's sometimes where I say, God damn, how did we do that? When I'm at home, I gripe a little bit more to my wife. I try not to do that. Who was it? One of our coaches said to me, hide your body language if you're going to be unhappy. At least you never say anything, but hide the damn body language. And I'm usually pretty good about that. When I'm home watching on TV, how do we miss that shot? Oh, my God. I can't believe you can look, I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time. I'm just saying that's how our fans are, too.
Yep.
But it's funny. I'm very shy as a kid, extremely shy.
Man, what?
Like I wouldn't go into somebody's house if their dad was home. I was that shy.
Yeah.
I was scared to go to school.
It don't even seem like it.
But I was. And it developed, and with my confidence, I have a lot of energy, but I didn't used to when I was younger express it much that way. I was just too timid, too shy. And now, as you get older, eventually that stuff, drips away. Yeah. I would say.
I want to sit
I've
next
always
to
been
him.
an enthusiastic sports fan. I mean, look, I love the Clippers and all that, but when you go to your kids' games, that was a much bigger deal.
That's what
I might have brought even more energy. I tell everybody, they ask, what's it like to, you have a team? And I said, well, it's the next best thing to your kids' games. Oh my God, sweat, just, you look at, I raise my arm, more pin out. Oh my God, we have a chance to beat Franklin. Oh my God. My kids did not go to the most accomplished basketball school in the toughest league. They played the toughest league in the state of Washington, and they weren't exactly, I would say, at the level. Most of the NBA guys in Seattle came out of my kids' league, and they went to a little, preppy school that wasn't going to compete well with Brandon Roy's high school, Jason Terry's high school, DeJounte Murray, baby boys high school. Not happening. But your kids' games. That's where you really, my kids sometimes say, come on, Dad.
You're embarrassing them.
Just dial it down. We don't want to know about it. We just, wear some beige at least a little bit.
Yeah. Wear a little beige.
I'm gonna sit next to a game next year. I'm gonna sit next to a game with you and get real hype with you.
I should bring my buddy. Our son's played AAU basketball. He's louder than I am.
He louder than you?
Oh, God. At the AAU
there's nobody
games,
louder than you.
At the AAU games, I wasn't even close to as loud as my buddy.
How old is your son that's in the AAU team?
Well, he's gone now. He's 24. So
I was about to say,
he hasn't played for 7 years.
on your team.
Gotta play with us.
Yeah,
I like what you did there, though.
PG Elite.
He just got him a seat next to Steve.
Yeah.
I just put myself there.
Just remember.
Yeah, you did that
Just
smooth.
remember.
Didn't
He's
I?
a whole lot better athlete than his dad. And he's not playing at the most elite AAU level.
Yeah.
He had a good run, a lot of fun. As I said, high school, he wound up a better football player, my youngest, than basketball.
I know we've had some fun times, some celebratory locker room, water showers. It's awesome, to have that relationship from top to bottom, to have ownership in the locker room. You don't see that very often. I've been on two teams. No. Not to have ownership in the locker room and celebrating a win with their team. No.
Seriously?
Yes.
I would have thought that happens a lot.
In a water shower? No, sir.
Well, let me ask you this question. I've always been curious. One of the things that's important to me is I always go into the locker room for the last game of the year, which, the last game of the year, how do I say this? I always hope our last game of the year is in the playoffs and it's a win. But if it's in the playoffs and a loss, you know what just happened. If you don't make it to the playoffs, that's whether you win or lose, that's not a great game. Don't most owners do that? Show up at the end of for the last game of the season at least?
I don't want to throw no owners under the bus, but
Not so much.
Yeah,
no,
not so much.
Throw anybody on the bus.
Yeah.
It's not that common. You're saying?
yeah, it's not that common. In my career,
at least to say thank you to people. You know, hey,
Right.
Yeah.
our season
it's
ended.
appreciated.
And, because I'm not going to be with that group of guys ever again to be able to say thank you because, by then you go do the, what do you call them? The debriefs, the end of season stuff and people spread around. And anyway, so it's kind of something I think is important.
You just said like water showers. It just seemed a little like
yeah, dump the Gatorade, water
That's
everywhere.
basketball
sounded more
terminology. They
like
know it.
something else.
I knew what you must have been talking about.
Yeah,
I knew
it's
what he was
fine.
talking
But
about.
for our audience at the end, we were talking about Gatorade. Nothing more
Not any
mucky,
wet
as you
t-shirt
You might
contest.
have assumed it was something inappropriate. What
kind of culture is going on over there?
Water shower.
We were right there, mind melding.
He should do all the commercials for at the end of the show. I love it.
So
Don't you love those things in the movies though, where the actors are acting, and then they turn and they talk to the camera?
So this part of the movie
It's funny.
it's great to get a different perspective because we talk with athletes. That's all we've really talking to is athletes. So to get your perspective on things, it's been fun. But in business, you have all these different roles, whether that's the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, whatever it may be. And now that you're in the Clippers organization, talk a little bit about your working relationship with the roles you have there with the team president, Lawrence Frank, and then your coach, Coach Lou. Talk about that dynamic and how it works.
Yeah, I think of myself as having kind of four folks who are the leadership I stay in touch with. Lawrence Frank, who's our president of basketball. Gillian Zucker, she's president of business. They're both, they work together, but they're separate things. It makes all the sense in the world. T. Lou and Jerry West, who's a consultant, gives a lot of perspective, a lot of advice, a lot of wisdom. So those are the four people I stay in pretty regular touch with. I am retired. I'm busy, but I'm retired. What does that mean? It means I want to really delegate to people, right? I don't want to be, particularly in Gillian's area, she runs the business. We agree on some targets. Now, the arena's been a little different. That's been a labor of love for me. So I've been more of a little micromanager, I'd say, on that. But in general, she runs the business. We agree on some parameters. I'm not in the middle of it. Jerry gives wise advice. T. Lou, my deal with him, we talk on the phone, but mostly I go and see him before every home game. Stop in his office. How's he doing? What's going on? His perspective with the team. We have a great relationship, but we talk. We see each other, I'll check in on the summers, but I do talk to him before every home game. Now, he's fine with that. My thing is, pregame, you got to do your job. I'll leave you alone. He says, if I'm doing my job 10 minutes before the game starts, you got a different problem, basically. I've got to get my work done before that. So, that's an important connection. It's not like I go back in and say, hey, why are you playing Tommy instead of, Harry or something? That's not my deal. I'll ask questions because I want to know, but, with Lawrence, it's a little different. Because, look, why do people want to have basketball teams? Well, if you're not an athlete, it all goes back to, hey, like trading cards, right? Trading baseball cards. Ooh, should we do this? Ooh, should we do that? And so where do you get that juice? It's always by talking to the head of basketball. I'm not necessarily saying, hey, move this guy, play that. That's not my deal. But come on. I'm interested. What's going on? Are we going to get that guy?
Give me the scoop.
Okay. I've never heard of that guy you want to trade for. Oh, at least let me go look up so I'm with you. I can get excited with you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. What about that guy? Oh. And ultimately there is one decision above all that I am responsible for. And that, in a sense, is how much money we're going to lose or make, right? And that gets down mostly to what our player payroll and luxury tax bill is going to be. And I can't delegate and say, you decide this. It's your money. You decide. And so I have to have enough of a sense that okay, do we really need that 15th roster spot when if you add up the luxury tax, the 15th guy on the roster is going to wind up costing us $12 million? Got to talk about that because the 15th guy on the roster isn't supposed to play much. And, do you do that with the last roster spot or the top 7 or 8 guys on the team? You just got to do whatever you got to do to have the right top. And then after that, what do you do? Again, I don't have to decide on the guys, but I got to give enough parameters that Lawrence can do his job. And for that to work, we got to be talking. And, I talk to Lawrence very frequently on the phone.
Well, I'm kind of excited about this one I'm about to ask you because I've been in LA all my life, 41 years. And
Clipper fan for 40 of them?
I'm going to hurt your soul right now. I'm a Laker fan forever. But
It's fun being here!
hey, I just got to keep it real with you, Steve.
You keep it real. I'm backing away from you.
But listen.
There goes
Beige
those, there
on.
goes those
Go Beige on.
courtside seats are
You can go
gone.
Beige. But I'm very excited because as long as I've been living, and we always had the Lakers and the Clippers sharing. It's been, 10 years since you became the general.
Governor.
The governor.
The governor. The governor.
Go with general.
You got
T-Rack energy.
It's new to
T-Rack
me.
energy.
Why did you go to Generalissimo?
It's been 10 years since you've been the governor. And finally in 2024, you got, I'm going to say this your baby, the Intuit Dome. Everybody wants to know about the Intuit Dome. This man will be able to play in the Intuit Dome. Everybody wants to know. I wants to know what was the process in building this place. And we all know it wasn't easy, man. Break it down to us. Like what? Because I know you got more energy now with this. You about to be crazy with this because I done heard a lot of stuff about it. Please tell us.
So when I first acquired the team, one of the things that was a good thing for me is we didn't have to build an arena. Because most of the time, if you look at it, many of the times when teams sell, it's because there needs to be an upgrade or a renovation to an arena. And I thought, isn't this great? I don't have to own an arena. We play in one. It's all good. I didn't realize how unfun that was for us versus the Kings and the Lakers. Better financial arrangements. You don't see the Lakers playing on Saturday afternoons. You don't see the Lakers playing or the Kings playing when Monday Night Football's on. You just don't see those things. And during the first year, when I bought the team by myself. And I think it was during the first year, a buddy of mine from college, I sold him 1% of the team, and he's in the real estate business. And he said, his name's Dennis Wong. He says, Ballmer, we got to build a building. And I said, well, I didn't want to, but you're in a real estate business, so if we're going to do this, it's as much on you as it on me.
Right.
And so he gave me the courage, I would say. And then he started the process of finding a piece of land. We looked at a bunch of different sites around the city and the area. What could we do? Where made sense? Actually getting land, even if you identify it, that's a tough process. Getting it, what they call entitled, permission essentially from government to go build the thing. We're in California. In California, no government puts up any money for arenas, so I knew we were going to have to do that. I was going to have to do that all myself. And then, I figured, okay, well, my partner would do most of the work. But then I found, no. I care about how this arena looks.
So
I care about how it works. And, literally, so we started on this project, it'll be 9 years. 2015 we started, we'll open in 2024, so 9 years. And the first year or so was all about getting the real estate. Then we essentially got sued, and the Madison Square Garden guys who owned the Forum, they were trying to block us. We wound up buying the Forum, even though we're building the building down the street. So, we own the Forum
you
now
said you
too.
had to buy the Forum
Balling.
as well?
They were going to stop. I mean, look, they were going to try to. They were going to try to block us from building a building. So
we bought.
Unless we bought the Forum. So we bought the Forum.
More meat on the rack.
This is another edition of
No
rich
babe.
people shit.
So we own the
damn.
Forum also. We own the Forum in addition to Intuit Dome with the Clippers. Anyway, there's a whole story there if you ever want to know. Anyway, so And I said, look, we got to have I have a point of view. I wanted an arena that works for the true basketball fan. And by the way, the music fan, because we're going to have concerts, but it had to work for the true basketball fan. And there's some things that I wanted more noise. I wanted people closer to the action. I wanted people to be comfortable so that they're not just squirming in their, you don't want people just laying back like this, not cheering. You want people up and at it, but you don't want people, people want the leg room.
Right,
They want the leg room. They don't want to have to go like this because they can't see over the person in front. So we said, we're going to do that. We saw an early option to do a crazy thing for a scoreboard, and it's like, okay, is this really going to work?
What's the
What
crazy
the hell?
thing? What's the crazy thing for the scoreboard?
Our scoreboard's an acre. We have an acre of scoreboard. That's 44,000 square feet. The average big NBA scoreboard is 9,000 square feet. So we got about 5 times as much scoreboard as some of the biggest boards out there.
Yeah.
Just to give you a sense, we got an acre of surface area for our scoreboard.
Tell us about these restrooms that you got so many of.
God, man, I'm talking scoreboards, and you want to go into the job? You want to take me back? You want to take me back to the 1,300? You call them fixtures because if you say 1,300 toilets, it sort of misses the fact that a urinal shouldn't be used as a toilet. Anyway, toilets plus urinals, we got 13 or 1,400. I can't even remember right now. I wanted people in their seats watching the game. People, I hate it when you see lines and people can't come back in. We talked about what do we do to make sure there's less water. You know how there's always water on the floor of the bathrooms. I think that looks like shit. So how do you design the sink so that the paper is next to the disposal, is next to the soap, is next to the sink? How do you make the sink deep enough? I'm still worried about that. So that you're not splashing water all over. I mean, we went through the details. And I think it's going to come out. But I still worry. I worry about everything in the thing because even though I think we've done a good job, the other day I sat and it turns out the architect said we were the first ownership group that actually demanded that they put up 2 rows of seats. Normally people try out the seat. Well, I wanted 2 rows so you could feel the leg room. And then I sat, a year later in some seats and they didn't feel the same. And I thought, oh my God, this is bad. Because we're putting the same investment in person in the upper bowl as we do way down at the bottom. You may sit farther away, but we want you to have same comfort level. Well, it turns out the bowl is not like this. It's like this. And so the people down low get a little more leg room, and the people up higher get a little more headroom. Because it's the same, and we have wider rows, and we have wider or wider seats, and we have deeper leg room than anybody in the NBA. How do we make that an experience? We got some tricks coming. We'll have power to every seat, so you can charge your phone if you need to during the game.
That's sick.
That's big.
That's awesome.
We'll know wwhether you're standing up, sitting down, and if you're cheering. We know how many decibels you're putting out. We know whether you're standing up, sitting down.
Yeah.
Because we put chips in the seats that help us understand some of this stuff.
Do the seats got heat warmers?
Seats don't have good question. The thing I wanted to do was put what they call like in a controller, put a little haptic feedback. Like it's exciting time of game or Disneyland ride. The problem is, one of our guys who used to work at Disney says, what would happen is people would be holding their beer. Beer would be pouring. I kind of want to give you a little gooser. It's time to stand up and cheer. But that idea, that one didn't happen. Wow.
So we have in the stadium, we have the wall, right? How does one make it to be where the wall is? Because I know that's our rowdiest, craziest fans. Like how does one make it?
The wall, at one end of the building, we have no suites. So it's just 51 rows from the bottom all the way up to the top, more like a college gym.
Okay.
And we got a section right in the middle, maybe 300 or 400 people, standing room only. So you got to stand, kind of student section-y. It's kind of right where the free throw shooter has to look to shoot the free throw. And when the opponent's down there shooting free throws, we got our guys standing there. And, basically like the soccer, if you're not cheering hard, you won't be able to stand there in the future. You know, that's not, you buy a seat and you're done. We have some of our more affordable seats there, so we can, you know, get some younger people in, maybe who don't have the resources to buy elsewhere. I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk about this yet, but we're working on what I would call a season pass instead of a season ticket. You buy a season ticket, you sell it if you're not going to a game. I don't like that. That's how we get all the evil other team fans in our building, and I'm sort of tired of that BS.
Pass,
so a season pass, you can share, like a Netflix account. You can share it with 3 or 4 people, but it's got to be those 3 or 4 people. You can't just sell it to somebody else. Now, we got to sell that at a low price. That's got to be a good price product, but we're going to have some season passes in there and, you know, a bunch of other stuff.
I like that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Shout out to the Intuit
That's awesome.
man. You did.
Thank you,
Shout out
man.
to the Intuit.
Thanks.
Brought something
You guys
to LA.
you had a good tour when we went over there and took
Oh,
a
it
look.
was amazing. I was blown away. I mean, people don't realize this. There's like 5 full court basketball courts there. The outside court, I think, was awesome. Because you're not only tying in our games, you want actual community games there, whether it's, you know, AAU stuff or high school championships. Like, you really want this a basketball stop.
Yeah. So we got an indoor court for the fans. We got an outdoor court for the fans. We obviously have the game court, and I think I believe you guys are going to really like the practice facility.
We're going to love it.
Yeah,
we're going to love it.
I think so. I was over there today taking a look, and we had a locker room. I'll tell you this. We had a locker room design. And then one of our guys was looking at the new locker room in the practice facility at Orlando. And he comes back and says, we got a problem. What's the problem? We got to make the locker room bigger. Oh, what do you mean we got to make the locker room bigger? Because this is our practice locker room, in addition to our game locker room, we may not have enough space for all the shoes guys want to have at their locker. You know, how many pair of shoes? Maybe 20 or 30 pair of shoes at the locker. You know, it takes more space for that. Oh, by the way, we don't have a place to hang up a long coat. I said, this is L.A. He says, no, this is a place where some people want to style. And they're going to have long coats despite the fact. So we wound up redoing. It was the latest change we make. And now we got a locker room that is, looks pretty big to me for 15 guys.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Steve, you just mentioned the word change, and you've been a part of the NBA now for about 10 years, and you've kind of seen how the game's evolved. What are your thoughts on the current NBA with how much growth it's had, both from a business perspective and just how the game's evolved from an analytical space? What are your thoughts about the current NBA today?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're fortunate that we have a game that probably winds up close to tied with soccer as the most popular game in the world. Basketball's never going to come close to soccer in some parts of the world, but in the United States, in China, in the Philippines, where they're playing the FIBA stuff right now, you know, basketball is red hot. So I think that's and it makes sense. You know, you can play it or you can go out and shoot. It's much more, it's not like, you know, the NFL where it's just not, it's not conceded. The NFL is perfectly good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't get that same sense. I also, and this is going to sound funny, but games that are played without helmets means there's a lot more identity for the players. I mean, I can be a Seahawk fan if you ask me how many Seahawks would you actually recognize if you ran into them on the street. I might look at it again and say, I bet that guy plays for the Seahawks. But, you know, if you're not DK Metcalf or, you know, Sherman when he was with the Seahawks, Bobby Wagner, but, you know, you're not going to recognize a lot of those guys. Basketball, there's a lot more sort of intimacy and ability to relate because you're closer to the game. So I think our game's going to be just more and more popular. That's number one. How the business goes, I think the business will continue to be good, but you know, this major shift that's going on from TV as we know it to streaming, there's going to be a lot of like weird stuff that goes on in terms of how people are getting games. They'll get them. I don't know how. I don't know if it'll be through the networks, the streamers, who knows. There'll be the legal deal with that, if you will, as we go through the new media deal. But there'll be new ways to experience the game at home. As soon as you put it on the internet, You can interact with it. You can customize. You can do things to watch the game. This one I'm real excited about. I say to myself, I want to just watch this game from PG's perspective. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what he sees. That's possible in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible to say, hey, I just want to watch the game, see the game he sees.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be cool as
It would
hell
be awesome.
myself. And the technology is going to let us do that kind of stuff. So I think our game not only is a good game, we're going to be able to make it even more exciting to the person who's not in the building, and hopefully with things like we're doing at Intuit inside the building. So I think that's in good shape. The fact that we got a deal that works for the players and for the team, I think that's very important. The thing I like about everybody, players, owners, that's got to happen every few years. But the truth of the matter is we've got a real partnership. We split the revenue 50-50. We all care about the same thing then.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, players will say, give us a little more, and the owners will say, give us a little less. And it's not my job the league takes care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the sense of partnership, I think, is really important. And I think it lets us build our game in a different way than you do in other leagues, frankly, because of the way the deal is structured.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fan of what the Players Association and the league have done about that, I guess is what I'm really trying to say. I think that's important. In terms of the excitement in the game, everybody's got their own opinion on what's exciting. Is it run up and down, shoot more three? The analytics say what? You're supposed to shoot corner threes and dunk the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit old school. I don't mind seeing games won, 94-90.
Mm-hmm.
But I may not speak for the average fan, and that's why there's smart guys at the league office and on the competition committee, players, coaches, et cetera. But, we got to keep the game, super interesting. The nice thing about threes, actually, is that anybody can think I can go out and shoot one of those.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is dunks, if you're like an average, kind of hacker, it's not in your wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, I'll go out and practice shooting the ball. I'm not going to be an NBA player, but I'm going to go out and shoot the ball. Now, when people say, hey, let's move the three line back further, that may work for somebody. It starts taking the fan out of being able – look, it's hard enough right now for the average fan to know whether they can actually get the ball from the NBA three line to the basket. I tell people who do – I said, could you get it there?
Yeah.
And without just flinging it.
Well, you
the
see it
truth
all the
is, most of
time.
the guys I know couldn't get it there
Yeah.
with anything that looked like a shooting
Well, you
form.
see it all the time when they do the little fan interactions
Halftime
at
shows.
halftime, and the fans that ball is well short.
Well, sure. I go out there and practice at home, just saying, hey, can I get because I'm older. I can't do it anymore just on, power. I got to do it on form. Mm-hmm. And so I sit there and I watch you guys. I watch, okay, what's going on? What's the form? I think I told you this once. I watch you carefully in your warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you tend to shoot like in a game like you shoot in warm up. Mm-hmm. That's not true of everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting there, okay, like Nico Batum. He's got a very compact shot. Mm-hmm. It's like boom,
it's tight.
It's just tight. Nothing seems to move. Like, where the hell does the power come for that?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a little bit more motion. Mm-hmm. There's not a good and a bad. It's just, God, how does that guy get the ball there? How does that guy get the ball there? Mm-hmm. I was watching a little bit of the highlights of the Slovenia-Canada game at the World Cup. They got Luka shooting the ball and Shea shooting the ball, and okay, what do they do? But we got to keep the game interesting to the point, and game has evolved. It's evolved a lot since you came in the league.
A lot. Yeah, it is. I tell all the young guys, like, now the game is fast paced. It's a lot more up and down. When I was, my first year in the league, there was two bigs on the court. There was no switching. There was no. It was either pick and roll, or it was either play out of the post, or that was NBA offense. Now it's our fives are initiating offense. 5 out. It's spread. It's run and gun. It was still a mid-range game when I was first coming in the league. And so, yeah, it's a different time.
For a lot of the great guys like on our team, it's still a little bit of mid-range on our team.
I love it. I'm happy we have mid-range guys on our team because I'm a huge fan of using the mid-range. I mean, the best player in the world was the best mid-range guy. So I'm a fan of the league, of the game, still staying in that, mid-range game. But, yeah, it's grown a lot.
Getting rid of the take foul, that was essential. You can't have a game where people run up and down and then they can't finish the break. I mean, at least from my fan perspective, I don't know. What did you think it was good to get rid of that or no?
I thought it was good. I thought it was good to get rid of that because it's like, if someone's got a fast break, we're not just going to, give you a easy layup. Like we got to try to make a play, and try to save a possession. I
agree with that, but the little. All right, I touched you.
Yeah.
Get your,
does it need to be the Euro style? Like you get a good whack in?
Yeah,
Detroit Pistons.
If you don't want a fast break, it's okay. Get your ass out there and stop the fast break, but not just, hey, you're running by. And for me personally as a fan, I like that. Mm-hmm. But I like a little bit of the old school, Gary Payton in the post kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So.
Did you guys hear Noah Lyles talking about, the NBA champions, whether they're world champions or not, and all the controversy that came from that? I'd be curious kind of what your guys' thoughts on his comments, because it has stirred up a ton of different thoughts and opinions in the social media world, and want to know what your guys' take is.
I mean, I think he's right. Technically, yeah. Like the NBA, we have, guys from all over the world, right? The game is more and more becoming an international game with the international talent that's coming into the league. But from his point of view, being a USA athlete, I think he's right in terms of world champion, competing on that scale, and winning the gold medal. But at the same time, I think you have a right being in the best. Mm-hmm. The NBA being the best of the best in basketball, with all these other countries and national players being a part of our league. Yeah, you're a world champion. But I don't think there's a wrong answer either way.
I'm with you. I mean, look, it's sort of like a technicality, which is, if you have to play for your country and only your country to have a world championship, I get that definitionally.
Yeah.
If the best of the best have to beat the best of the best to be called a world champion. If you ask me, I love the national games because they have a certain kind of, spirit to them. But if you really want to know what the, sort of the best of the best competition looks like, mm-hmm. you watch the NBA.
You watch the NBA.
No, I get it. I get a kick. Okay.
Yeah.
USA. Now, to me, it's different because we have a lot of great guys who go play on our team. But it's not the best team, my guess, that the U.S. could put on the floor.
Right.
I mean, it's not like the old days where the dream team came and said, I don't know if you guys remember, 88 we lost. We lost to the Russians, and there's a line out of one of my favorite movies, Taxi Driver. Too much abuse has gone on for too long. We're going to take all the dirt and filth and flush it down the toilet. Well, that was 92. Too much abuse had gone on for too long. We're not letting those Russian guys win again. And, that was an amazing team.
Yeah.
We're not sending that team. And frankly, it's probably better for Olympic and competition that we don't. That team would go... And those games would not be very competitive. Mm-hmm. So I actually think the better test of great basketball is the NBA championship. But, the semantics of that, I agree with what Noah Lyles said. It's fine, and I disagree with him at the same time.
In some ways. I mean, it's comparable to boxers. When boxers win, they're world champions,
Except they'll have two guys at one weight class who both own their own world championship belt. So I've never ever since I was a kid, I said, how can you have a world champion when there's another guy who's got a belt? They say, well, he's got the X belt world championship.
Yeah, well, they just make up belts in it. But it's comparable to that, I think. In boxing, it's world champions. They're just individuals, I think, on the NBA level. It's a team. So, we're still world champions. We're beating the best of the best to be rightfully called the world champion, to your point.
Yeah.
So there's I know he probably got a lot of heat, probably still getting a lot of heat from
He
that
knew what he
comment.
was doing, too, I think there was a part of him that was like, he knew what was
"World
going to happen if he
champions,
came out and said it. It looked like he practiced it.
He
but
was so mad.
Steve, before we wrap up, typically our last segment, we do like a draft between the guest and P. But since you're here today, I kind of want to leave the floor up to you. But I'd like for you to kind of let us know what you expect to see from the team this year. And then lastly, before we start the season, just your message to the Clipper Nation before we begin the season.
In terms of, what I expect to see, I would, and I kind of like, we had, and people don't think about this anymore with Microsoft, but we were always underdog. We had to come from behind in so many battles. Windows was not the favorite when it came out. Xbox, we had to come, from behind the Sony, bunch of the other businesses. People think of Microsoft Word as the only word processor you use. We had to knock off a bunch of competition. And I think there's a similar character in the Clippers. People don't give us our due. And frankly, because we've been hurt, we haven't shown better than that. Not as good as we can show. And so I think at this stage, people discount us. I think probably a little chip on our shoulders right now. And Pete can talk about that better than I can. And so I think people discount us a little bit. I think we got a little bit of something to prove. I think we got a lot of talent on our basketball team. Bookies, I don't bet. I'm not suggesting betting, but it's a way to see what the world on average thinks. I think we got a lot to prove. I think we got a lot of potential, and I have always great expectations. But the good news is, it doesn't matter. My expectations are never any higher than it would be with our players. Our players come in expecting to win. That's what right? You guys come in and say, expecting's not the right word, saying we're going to do it. And there's nothing given, so you can't expect. We have guys who are playing for us because they want to win. They want to. Could have done other things this offseason, but they stay with us because they want to win. And so I have high expectations for our team this year. I do, and we need a little luck. We need to stay healthy. So we got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, sir. Healthy on three.
1, 2, 3. That's a two-fister right there.
That's a great way to end the show, Steve.
Look at this.
Everyone's feeling good.
It's good.
Good thing I don't have to get in the game. I'm looking for your help. I'm glad to come in a wheelchair if it saves your help. I'm glad to come in a wheelchair if it helps your help.
Steve, man, that's a wrap. We appreciate you coming for the season finale. We had to do a big banger for this one. We want to. What's going on?
So we want to have a gift from Mr. Ballmer to you. And so, we wanted you to open it up on camera. What you got there?
Come on.
Podcast. Oh my gosh.
Come on.
That's awesome.
Can I wear this in the game?
We're not in the bubble anymore.
Yeah.
I think people can do their
That's
own thing.
great.
That's
a
awesome.
great gift.
Steve, appreciate it. Guys, Steve got me the Podcast P customized jersey. Clipper blue. Come on now.
That's dope.
Come on now.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
That's awesome. This is getting framed right here. But once again, thank you again, Steve. We appreciate all the fans out there staying locked in with us for season 1. It is a wrap. We look forward to seeing you guys back season 2. My guys, Dallas Rutherford and Jackie Long. It's been a blast to wrap up this season 1, guys. Appreciate it. You the best. You the man. Yes, sir.